Luke really gave most of an insight into the answer to that question was Ingo Swann, funnily enough. And I think he basically said that when the ETs look at us, they laugh at our technology. They laugh at our technological inferiority and what the military, the corporations have. But what frightens the extraterrestrials is our psychic abilities, that we have these tremendous psychic abilities and abilities to be able to manipulate space-time through our consciousness alone, that they don't understand, that is beyond their capabilities. And I think that's a very important clue when it comes to extraterrestrials. And when we look at, the testimonies of some of the contactees who are interacting with sort of more positive extraterrestrials, whether it's the Andromedans, the Pleiadians and so forth, that these reports that come back to us is that these kind of more benevolent extraterrestrials, they keep on pointing out that we as a species have latent within us these incredible psychic, spiritual abilities. And if we ever learn to harness those and tap into those, that we will truly not only transform our civilization, that we will transform the galaxy. And that's something that I think really does give us an important insight into how extraterrestrials view us. That on the one hand, we're kind of primitive, savage barbarians using this technology to kill each other, but on the other hand, we have these latent psychic, spiritual potentials that if we ever learn to develop and harness at a global level, we will not only transform our planet, we will transform the galaxy.
I still hope for them, and especially regarding our view or how special ETs are or might be, that they also have an Andromedan or an Arcturian Uri Geller, because I'm not sure if I have such a high view on ETs, if they can bend spoons with their mind. No, I'm just kidding. But to be honest, if I hear you right, I think, and that would have been my next question actually, I think the most important thing for humanity is to not just watch until this whole ET fleet and mothership lands on the White Hall's lawn, so to speak, so we have actual proof. You see, they are there, and now we can start believing, and believing is seeing, or seeing is believing, because that's how humanity thinks now regarding to the ET question, but that the real answer it comes from inside, that all the galaxies actually can be found within our own hearts and souls and minds. And this sounds very New Age, but it sounds very spiritual. But we now are finding out also in science that it's the work of non-local consciousness and intention which can actually create physical matter and influence physical matter at a distance. And if I'm hearing you right, then the ETs are even a little bit frightened of our powers. And I think this is the way to connect to our higher multidimensional self, not just wait for the rapture, so to speak, and the official disclosure of extraterrestrial life, which is imminent and which Obama is going to bring to the world, and maybe first anti-gravity and then the ET truth, which is out there, but that the ET truth is not out there, but within here, so to speak. Would you agree?
Yes, I think that's very, very important, is to be able to tap into that higher consciousness within each of us so that we can really transform our own lives and transform society around us. One of the things that I was very excited about at a conference, we organize a conference yearly here on the big island of Hawaii called Earth Transformation, that we brought someone from Croatia for the first time to Hawaii. His name, I don't know if you've heard of him, but it's called Brazzo. And he is a tremendous catalyst. I think he's something similar to what we have in the Indian tradition of these gurus, whether it's Sai Baba or Amachi, that these people who are able to kind of catalyze people just by their presence, that by just looking at this man, people have these tremendous awakenings. And this was something that I was really fascinated with when we brought him here to Hawaii, just to see how many hundreds of people just experienced some kind of awakening by merely looking at him, that somehow he generated an energy field, or he was a conduit for universal forces, source energy, the God force, whatever you want to call it, that he was a conduit for some pure energy that awakened people and had a very powerful catalytic effect. For some people that was healing, for some people they became empowered, for some people all of a sudden relationships were resolved. It seemed that it wasn't and in any one particular way how people's lives were catalyzed by his presence and by his energy. But I think that's what's going to happen now, is that as we learn as a species to be able to kind of like tap into that higher energy, we are going to be exposed to more and more of these catalysts. People like Brazzo, who can basically catalyze us to go more deeply into that higher potential and express that fully in our lives so that we can transform ourselves and society around us.
Well, I hope I will be transformed in the first 5 minutes coming now, because it's actually looking at me, because I'm having here the www.earthtransformation.com is your other website, right? So not just the exopolitics.org. And I see here this Earth Transformation Conference in 2010. Oh, you already had it, and it's Braco, Croatia. I'm not sure. You say Braco, or he shouldn't be changing his first letter of his name in a D though, because then it would be Draco. But it looks like Braco, but it's Brasso. Is that the right name?
Yes. I mean, phonetically, it looks like Braco, Braco, but the way it's pronounced in Croatia is Brazzo. And yes, and he was one of the presenters at our conference, and we have found him to be really a powerful catalyst for this kind of transformation that I'm very interested in.
And this is a yearly conference or a few times per year?
Yes, it's a yearly conference. So we just had it in January of this year, and so we're planning to do another one tentatively for January of next year. And certainly, if you're interested in learning more about Brazzo, then I would recommend Angelica Whitecliffe, who wrote a book about 21 days with Brazzo, where she talks about accompanying him and seeing the effect he had on people around him. And she interviewed his family, his co-workers, and it's all part of that book, 21 Days with Brazzo, where she kind of like chronicles this incredible transformative effect he has on people. And she presented at the Earth Transformation Conference as well about Brazzo.
Okay, we can all find this on earthtransformation.com as well, I guess, huh?
Yes, exactly. It's all there.
Okay. Well, and of course, I would like to suggest you can always book me as well for a lecture next year, because at least I would have a good excuse to come to Hawaii. But but for real, I saw your all the references to your work previously before you started Exopolitics, and I also saw a lot of reference to the world peace. And we have the site www.worldpeacechild.com. So I'm curious what your ideas are regarding worldwide peace, and how it differs from the view you might have or do have in relationship to a cosmic peace connected with all kind of ET species. How does it differ in your view?
Well, a world peace, that has different levels to it. If it's just peace in the sense of no major wars, that would be a kind of very superficial peace. If it's a peace which is based on social justice, then that would be a much deeper level of peace. It would be a kind of peace that would really be something that could be mirrored in the kind of larger cosmos around us. Because, what we want is to go beyond a kind of superficial peace in the sense of, some people give it the word, negative peace, because the negative peace is where, major countries are not at war with one another, and so the militaries are simply armed, but they're not fighting. That's a kind of superficial peace. A positive peace is something which is based on social justice, where you don't have a kind of exploitative capitalist system in place, where you have impoverished parts of the planet that are struggling to maintain basic levels of survival, and then on the other hand you have very affluent areas where you have elites living in incredible levels of abundance. That's something that happens in the kind of negative peace. But if with a positive peace, you would have a kind of more social justice, and where wealth and harmony and all of the kind of goods of society are distributed more equitably. And I think that's really what we want on the planet, a kind of more positive peace, and that will actually be a good framework for a galactic peace.
aloha, I would say, or amen, or whatever